Okay, so this is take 3 of modeling the mesh. I did it once and I had paused the video because I was on a phone call, and then I recorded a second time and I didn't turn the mic on. So here we are, take 3, making this mesh of the radio. So as you can see, I've decided to model this in, and I wanted this kind of detail and this. So anyway, we'll just get to it. I'm going to hide all this for now, come into my front view, and I started with a plane, and I'll probably end up going completely wrong now and making a mess of this, but such is the way. J, I'm going to rotate that around 90 degrees. If you look in the bottom right corner, it tells you there as well when you're working in this kind of view. Then I created the sort of main volume here. And what I'm trying to do is basically get this kind of V shape where it comes down and then goes up. And then also take into account that this kind of bulges and that doesn't, it's not like a smooth loop there. It comes down and it sort of intersects this bulge area. So that's the sort of thing that I'm looking at to try and recreate, not just sort of, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to do multi-cut and just cut that in both directions first. And then I'm going to move this, I'm going to duplicate this and move it down sort of there, combine those, and then I'm going to bridge that there for now, and then I will delete all of this. So I've just got that, and maybe just make some adjustments. Let's just center that pivot. There's my pivot point gone. Vertices. And I've lost my pivot. Wonderful. So I'm going to come into my options and I'm just going to reset tool, hit OK, and then there we go. There's my pivot. And I might just want to bring that down a smidge, somewhere like there. Try and get it a little bit more accurate. I'm going to try and keep this as well as simple as possible at the moment. I'm going to move my pivot point there, Control D to duplicate, and -1 in the Y. So then flip that up. And I want it to kind of be in the same sort of position. But no, that'll be fine. That'll do. So we've got that here. And then I'm going to combine, vertices, merge and merge. And then I'm going to take these edges. Hang on a minute. That point is essentially this point, and then that point we don't have yet. So I can essentially just move that in a little. And then that bottom edge here, move that out a smidge. And then this middle, which is this point, sort of move that in. And then that top bit is there. I want to move that in a bit as well. And then this top middle piece up a little bit. Like that. And then, so basically I'm bit moving the objects, being aware of how it's going to kind of mirror over to some extent. So this, and I'm kind of working the diagonals, if you like. So this piece here, I want to duplicate. Center my pivot, move that there, because then that's that piece right, but then that piece is wrong. So then I'll mirror that over. But then, and then this, so basically those are wrong. So I want to delete that. I've got that top bit there, which is correct. And then this I want to extract. And then snap that to there, because then that is right. Like so. And I think I can delete that now. And then combine, merge, merge, Control D, and flip, -1. So then we have this. Combine them first. And merge. So we've got that kind of shape going on. And then I want to take those and duplicate object mode. Snap that to there. So you can see that this bottom section doesn't line up properly. So I need to take that and just merge, not merge, just snap it at the moment. So it does. And then I feel actually that I need to lower that and just take that whole lot down just a bit. So then that properly aligns with that, and this one doesn't here. So combine, merge and merge. And then I'm going to take these sorry. I'll be there with you in a second. My mind's gone a little blank. So that's there. I can delete you. Control D, -1. So it's just trying to make sure that everything is in the right place. And combine. So those bottom ones at the moment are wrong. Okay, so that bottom edge is the one, that's what I was trying to figure out, how to line this up correctly. So I want to take those and duplicate. Object mode. Center my pivot, move that to there, and then move that up. I kind of separated those somehow. So combine. So those bottom pieces should match perfectly, which they appear to be at least. And then I'm going to move them up to there. So then it all kind of snaps how you might expect it to. But then I do feel that that needs to just move up a bit. So I'm going to take all of it and just smoosh that up just a bit, I think. Oops. Then merge and merge. Faces, delete those bottom ones. And we've got our eye. And then I'll just move that down so it's kind of lined up a little bit better. And now that is kind of tiled the way that you would expect it to be. Control D. If I move that down, move that up, that would snap there. If I move that to here, Control D, snap that to there. Control D, move my pivot point to there. And then Control D, move my pivot point, and move that down. So they all now repeat perfectly. I'm going to just combine, grab the vertices and merge those together. So we have that. And then I want to start like manipulating. So if we come in, and the reason why I do this is so that I can kind of make sure that I'm working on the tile bits. So you don't necessarily have to, but I want to grab all of these top sections, 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are the bits that are going to stick out the most. I'm going to pull those. And I'm going to grab the middle bits. And I've done that thing again. Reset tool. And why my pivot's over there. A bit strange. And then I'm going to pull that out a little bit. And then the tops. See, that's what I've done. I've missed those middle bits, and that's what I did. So let's just come back to the beginning. So I need to make sure I get the side bits as well, and that's what I missed the last time, or the first time I did it, I made that error. I'm going to get all the bottoms. And I think that's why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it now, just so it's a bit more visual for me. So make sure I've got all the bottoms of those middle sections. And then pull all of those forward. And then grab all middle sections. Working my way across. Pull that out a bit. And then all of the top sections. So you could just edit the middle one, but this is just helping me to visualize and to make sure that it all tiles how I want it. And then I'm going to just take the middle one and just pull that out slightly to get that kind of bulge. And then I might just take the top one and just push it back a little. Again, I don't know how it's going over there. That's more kind of flattened out a bit. So then we're kind of getting this shape going on, which I think I'm pretty pleased with. And then what I might do, I didn't do in my last one. Fatal error. Okay, let me just pause and reload. The dreaded fatal error. So I've just reloaded and you can see you've got in your temporary file, hopefully it will have saved before it crashed. Otherwise, you have to go to your previous scene. So I'm going to select that top one, hit continue, and with any luck, where's that? We are there. We are back, and we are okay. So now what I will do is just come in, file, and save it properly. So after a fatal error save and you load it back up, it will still be on that kind of file. So I'm just going to come back in and rename that. We do 25. Incremental saving I always prefer, just in case I mess up and I want to go back a few steps. And it's a little non-destructive workflow. So where was I? Oh yeah. I was going to add in multi-loops into these. So I'm just going to middle mouse click. And that will just give me, actually, that's going to take a little bit longer than if I was just to select the edges like so. And then just connect, and then that'll give me that single loop. Hit Q, and then all those edges will automatically be selected. And then I'm just going to pull those forward. I've got edge slide on to give a little bow. So we've got a little bit more shape to end up with this kind of thing. And then, then I'm happy with this. So I'm going to select my faces, and then I'm going to go to extrude. And when I extrude, I'm going to hit W to go back to world settings on my gizmo and push it straight back. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want this flat surface for it to kind of tile against and to stitch together, and it just makes my life a lot easier. So once I've done that, mesh display and reverse, so it's facing the right direction. And then now I want to add all my support loops and bevels. And I'm going to do this whilst it's like this and attached so that I get the flow onto the next one properly. Now, first time round, I did it manually and added in sort of multi-cuts. But I think I'm going to try and do bevels this time to see if it gives me a better result. Because I had a little bit of cleaning up to do. So I'm going to see if I can get away with it using the bevel technique. So I'm just going to select all the edges that I want to remain. Now I do want these, but I will want to edit these afterwards because I want this edge to have definition, but I still want this to be relatively smooth, and I want that to kind of be rounded as well. But we'll see how it goes as we come around. And then obviously that will need to match this edge, and that's the mistake actually that I made. And the first time that I did it, going over it the second time, I'm realizing that's the edge that I didn't bevel or do it. But because we want it to be tileable, we want it to be sort of uniform so that it will line up perfectly, which is what it didn't quite do last time. So there was a bit of cleaning up. So I'm going to try the beveled method instead and see if there is less cleaning up for me to have to do, essentially. So I'm doing all of these even though I don't necessarily need to. And the reason for that is just so I make sure that I've got everything that I need, possibly that might kind of, when I kind of strip it down, basically. So we've got that. And then I will want to kind of bevel those creases in as well. Let's just come through. And I'm going to take that across here as well. Because I think it will just support the bevel, and then I can kind of adjust that afterwards. So I want to grab all these pieces and take that across there and across there. Take it behind as well. I'm going to do the top. Because that will all sort of merge in. So basically it's this central eye that I want to take. So I want to make sure that all the edges that are kind of anywhere near attached to it basically are done. So I think that might be all that I need. I don't need to, I'm not worrying about the inner eyes of those ones. And then I am going to shift right click and bevel. And I'm just going to remove the chamfer. So then we have that, and it's all of an equal fraction of 0.5. And then, if with any luck, when I hit 3, the central piece should look good. I'm not worrying about the other bits, which I'm happy with. So then I'll come in here and then delete out those bits that we don't want to just leave our remaining eye. And then all of the edge loops, the supporting edge loops, should line up perfectly when we come to duplicate and shift and move this around. And then also when we cut it, you've got those connection points on those bits. So if I hit 3 on the keyboard and just come out of that and look, I think we're looking pretty good. The only thing is we've got that kind of crease in the middle. But what I'm going to do is grab those and make sure I grab the other side as well, because this is tiled, it's repeating. And then I'm going to grab my scale tool with edge slide turned on. And I'm just going to make sure edge slide is turned on. Okay, so it's not quite working that way. So what I'll do is grab them individually and move them up to about halfway. And then grab these ones. And because we're doing them both like that, then they should match up perfectly as well once we mirror it. So hit 3, you'll see that now there's a little bit of a mark there, but not as bad. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. I'm okay with that. So 1 on the keyboard, and I think I prefer this one to the one that I did first. So it's always the way. I can use this one instead. D and V, I'm going to move that to so at this point, and then I'm just going to save just to make sure. And then I'll press Control D to duplicate, turn off edge slide, and then hold down V to move that across, and just double check that that all matches up, which it does. Which the first time I didn't, because I didn't bevel, and I had more cleaning up to do, so it worked out better. So that matches up there, and D and V, I'm going to move that to there, Control D, and shift up. Make sure that all the edges match up, which they do as well. Fantastic. So I'm happy with that. So now what I'll do is just come back out here and into this, and I will just do Shift D, which will then repeat my last action. And then I'll take this, D and V, move my pivot point up. Then Control D to duplicate, hold down V and snap that down. And then I'll do Shift D to duplicate those. Then I'm going to combine all of those. I might just move it down and sort of line it up a bit more. It's a bit off, but I can live with that. The other one was a bit more accurate to scale, but it'll do. So we got that there, and then I will Control D, move it to this edge. D, Control D there to duplicate, sorry. Then I'll move that across, Shift D, and take that across to there. take this same one, D and V, move my pivot point to the other side, Control D, snap it, Shift D to repeat. And there we have our mesh. So if I come in and I will combine, and then I will select all the vertices and shift right click, merge and merge. Take a few seconds. And then if I hit 3 on the keyboard, it will say, yeah, because it's so many, so that's fine by me. Give it a couple of seconds to compute. And there we have it. Although I've just noticed an error. Dun, dun, dun. I did it on those, but not those. So some of them are going to have a hard edge and some will have a softened edge. So do I go back? Yes, I do. Control Z. It's going to bother me. So I will go back and Control Z as far as I can go. F on the keyboard. So it was in the middle, these ones here, those edges. So let's just keep going back. Okay, so these middle vertices here and here are also not that one, this one here. So when we slide up, we've still got edge slide on, move those up, I'm moving that with it. And then when I take these bottom ones, 1, 2, I also want to take this one and slide those down. And that was the issue. So now that would be nice. I will just say that again, made that change and snap that down, Control D, move that up, and now we've got that properly. And then Shift D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go over just to move, so it will just intersect, so it'll be fine. Shift D. So it didn't take long to fix. And then I will combine those, move the pivot point, Control D, snap, Shift D. Shift the pivot point, Control D, snap, Shift D. And if it does that sometimes, it's annoying. It didn't duplicate, or it felt like it didn't duplicate. Control D, V, snap, Shift D. I'm a little bit concerned about that, never mind. And combine, vertices, merge, merge. Okay, and then what I'm going to do actually, which is what I didn't do a moment ago, Q and come on, object mode. I will come in to my layers. I'm going to duplicate this first so before I do any smoothing because it's kind of permanent one. I'm going to take this one and bring it into my construction mesh here. So I've got, I think that's the new one that I've just created. Hang on. Yeah, so let's just pull that one out of the way for a moment. Pull this one there. Bring back this. I'm going to delete my old one. Push this sort of back in place. Right click, add selected objects, hide this. And then I will hit 3 to smooth, okay. Smooth preview. taking its time. And there we go. And now it is all equal. So we haven't got that one particularly sharp one. So then there is my mesh, which has kind of got that bulge, which is what I wanted to capture. And I am happy with that. So once I'm done, just pull this out for a moment. I've already got my high poly because I finished what I was making before realizing this video wasn't complete. So I'm going to bring back my high poly. I'm going to delete my first mesh, which actually, looking back, I don't like it anyway. And then I'm going to come in to my side view. And snap that back to there. Turn on X-ray. And line that up inside. There. And don't worry about all the color map stuff. I do cover this in the next few tutorials. Just that I've had to come back and do this. Which one? I want the yellow one. I think perhaps mine's a bit thick, so I'm just going to shrink that down a bit. It's thinner. So it fits a little nicer in there. That's okay. Basically what I'm looking for, I want it to be going into this ledge. Like it is. I've still got that information, that detail. Going in across there. Might want to just just going to move this over to there. And just try and scale that out as much as I can without losing the detail or clipping too much. So I might want to, because I want it a bit more three-dimensional and catch that light. I think I can get away with that. So there we go. And then as I kind of covered later, just maybe move that up a touch so then it kind of fits in. Okay, so yeah, there's our mesh. I'm just going to right click and assign existing material and then just change that back to the grill color, which we'll cover later. And then I'm just going to smooth that out, which again I do later, but don't worry. And that is job done. There is a grill complete. So thank you very much. And yeah, move on and hopefully enjoy the rest of the series.